Hello everyone, today we are ranking 20 most popular Christmas movies, with the top tier, the S tier, being my favorite must-watch. Let's jump right in. We're starting with the 1990 movie Home Alone, where the wet bandits get more than they bargained for when trying to break into this suburban home. Now, for many people, I understand it's going to be one of your favorites, one of the classics for you. And of course, there are many reasons it is, of course, with all of the home scenes where the things on the stairs, the paint cans, the iron falling, the tarantula, there's everything about that whole sequence is very famous, of course, and I understand that. For me personally, it's never one of my favorites growing up. That's why I'm going to put it somewhere right in the middle, let's say the B tier. Now we have Tim Allen's The Santa Claus, the original one. Now don't get me wrong, when I'm putting this in the C tier, it's not because I don't like the movie. I really do like the movie. I've seen it quite a few times growing up. It's just, for me personally, this isn't a quintessential Christmas movie. However, it is an enjoyable watch, so if that's one of your favorites, then I don't knock you for it. I'm also putting our next movie, The Polar Express, into the C category, but again, it's not because I don't like it. I really do enjoy this movie. Again, I've seen it many times. If you want to see Tom Hanks voice everyone in this whole movie, is what it feels like pretty much. It's the one for you, and of course, there's some memorable moments throughout it as well. Especially our oldest Drake brother, Austin, really enjoys the Hot Chocolate song. So if you know him, ask him about it and he'll tell you. With this next one, Christmas Vacation, going to be my first S tier movie. This Chevy Chase original and the Vacation movie series is just an all-around hilarious movie. Now, I didn't even actually see this movie until well into my adulthood, sometime in college. I don't know why. It just wasn't one that we had originally watched, but boy, when I did, we love it. My entire family watches it every year now. There's just something about that movie, from the squirrel scene to having to cut down the Christmas tree outside, and of course with Uncle Eddie, just completely perfect about in that role. Just so many fantastic scenes and quotable moments. I might make a few enemies with this one, but The Nightmare Before Christmas is going to be in my bottom category. That does not mean that it's a bad movie before you get your pitchforks out. It's not bad. It's just, for me, it's just nowhere near the top of my personal favorites. Like, I like Tim Burton in other movies that he's done. Of course, you might be asking, well, is this even really Christmas? Yeah, it's in the title. But even if I was putting this in a Halloween category, it's still not towards the top of my personal favorite ones. Good songs, though. Next, we have Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, which is going firmly into my A category. It's honestly one of the first movies I can remember watching that was Christmas-related as a kid. It's just great. It's just an all-time classic feel to it that you just can watch every year and not get tired of. So honestly, if you don't like this, I'm questioning you a little bit. After Rudolph, we have the Cartoon Grinch movie. This is another one of those you can watch every single Christmas and you shouldn't get tired of it. The song, of course, from it is just so iconic. You know, especially if it's going to be a long day tomorrow, you need to watch something that's quick and Christmas related. Well, this Grinch movie should be the one for you. I'm already on to my second somewhat controversial Christmas movie opinion. I'm going to put the live-action Jim Carrey movie above the cartoon one. Now, of course, some people are going to think I'm a madman for it, and that's okay. There's something about this Jim Carrey one that's just extremely funny, just in every way. Just all the jokes and just the many memorable quotes from it. It's just really good. Now I see we have White Christmas, a music Christmas movie landing on this list. Now this is another one that I actually didn't watch until I was an adult. It's probably one that I definitely appreciated more since I did see it as an adult. Of course, you know, I was a music person myself throughout college with band and choir. I did some drama and things like that as well. So I definitely appreciate it. And of course, there's just the all-time classic song by Bing Crosby, White Christmas, featured in this movie. Now we are looking at the 1947 Miracle on 34th Street with Edmund Gwenn playing Santa Claus, or Kris Kringle, depending what you think really happens in the movie, where he is just absolute perfect casting in this role. I actually wrote an article just about him in this movie for how well he portrayed this character. It's just a movie that I absolutely have to watch every year. I can't not see it. You know, with Edmund Gwenn, of course, in it, and Natalie Wood starring as Susan the girl. There's just everything about this movie just makes it a classic. Now, I typically try to watch this around Thanksgiving because the movie actually starts out with the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. So it's kind of been a nice, fun tradition in my family for several years now. So if you haven't seen this one, you have to go watch this. Okay, now we have Frosty the Snowman. So I'm going to put in the C category. But again, it's a pretty enjoyable just Christmas movie. You know, especially if you have kids, this is one that you can put on. And that'll definitely keep them entertained for a while. There's definitely some good things about this. Next we have Will Ferrell's Elf. And that for me is automatic going to be S tier in the top. You know, when this movie came out, Will Ferrell wasn't even sure he's going to continue to have a career in Hollywood. He thought that he's going to be washing out the movie industry with this. And so this is kind of his last-ditch effort to become a star in the making. But of course, it worked out pretty well for him. Director Jon Favreau, the same guy who did the original Iron Man movie, got this together. People like James Caan were in it, who was, of course, from The Godfathers. That was a pretty different role for him. You know, rest in peace for him, for James Caan. This is just a hilarious movie. You know, out of all of the modern Christmas movies, this has to be my favorite one. It's definitely going to be the top. It's anything really from, you know, the year 2000 on is what I'm considering. That one is probably the best one from that time frame. You know, now I have actually a romantic movie, Love Actually. We're going to be ranking pretty high as far as Christmas movies go. You know, it seems like I've watched it every year for several years in a row now, usually at home with my family, but I still enjoy it every time I watch it. I actually have an article where I'm ranking all of the storylines throughout the movie. You might be saying, Gremlins? Is that a Christmas movie? And it's like, yeah, it is. I mean, the whole story centers around a kid who gets this pet for Christmas times. Of course, the whole movie takes place at Christmas time as well, so yeah, it is. I cannot go a Christmas Eve without watching A Christmas Story. This is going into the S tier and the top tier. I just absolutely love this movie. It is an all-time classic. Now I've heard of some people who aren't a big fan of it. You know what? It's okay to be wrong. Just know that you are wrong because this is a fantastic Christmas movie. Every single year, my family and I watch this on Christmas Eve before going to bed for the night, and it's a tradition that I hope continue for the rest of my life. Santa Claus is Coming to Town. We're going to put this somewhere in the middle in the B tier. Now, it's not quite as good to me as the Rudolph movie is, but it is, again, one that I really enjoyed growing up, and I still enjoy today as an adult as well. So it's another one that you can watch, especially when you don't have as much time maybe for that night, and you can really enjoy it. Put in another romantic comedy since it is a pretty popular Christmas movie. I'm going to put this one also somewhere in the middle of the storylines. Again, I'm not much of a romantic movie person, but I do quite enjoy this movie. Klaus is the most movie on this list from 2019. It's actually become one of my favorite movies for Christmas in just a short amount of time. It is a 2D animated movie with 3D lighting effects to give it a unique look. And the story itself is very good, very heartwarming. It's a great fun one to add to your collection. Don't want to hear it in the comments. I don't want to hear it. Die Hard is a Christmas movie. You can fight me all you want, but you cannot run from the truth. He is invited to a Christmas party in the movie. That's how the whole thing is set up. The entire thing takes place on Christmas Eve. There are continual themes of Christmas throughout the movie with songs and everything else. So, yeah, it's an action movie, but guess what? This is absolutely a Christmas movie. It is going into the A tier. It's a Wonderful Life is last because it is, in fact, my favorite Christmas movie of all time. So, obviously, it goes into my top tier. It may even be a top 10, top 5 movie of all time for me. And it all starts with James Stewart as George Bailey. Just this movie from beginning to end. Directing, cinematography, the script, and obviously the acting with James Stewart is just all fantastic. This movie did things that wasn't even talked about at the time. This movie was made in 1946, right after World War II, where depression wasn't even widely accepted as a thing at that time. But this movie somehow tackled that topic in a very convincing, in a way that wasn't in a bad light on people who may have it. Because by all accounts, George Bailey's life was good. He had his own business. He had a loving wife and children. He had a home. He was living what you might call the American dream. But when you have depression, that can sneak into your life and make you want to give up the most precious thing, which in this case was his life. He had to see what his life or what everyone else's life would be like without his. And James Stewart himself even talked about interviews later on where he dealt with these things himself. He dealt with these issues in his personal life. And so when he portrays it on screen, it's just so natural and so real because he knows exactly what it was like. There's not a movie, in my opinion, to this day, since 46, that has depicted depression in a better way and better light than this movie. This one is a must watch. In the words of Clarence Smith's A Wonderful Life, remember, no man is a failure who has friends. So this Christmas season, go out, see family, see some friends. If you know someone who doesn't have family or friends, go be the friend to that person. Everyone have a Merry Christmas.